Let's begin.
Hello. My name is Racheal O'Brien and I'm with the amazing
Smriti Goswami. and we are just so excited to have you on board. Really looking forward to the Joy of Business book club. And this is one of my favorite books. And a lot of things changed for me the moment I first attended my first Joy of Business class, and things have never been the same since then. So really looking forward to this. We will be reading through the book, the first chapter of this book. And after that, we'll take your questions. Please have your questions ready. Let's see how we can contribute to you all.
Yay! So, can we just say, myself and Smriti, how long have you been playing with the Joy Business?
This is my third year.
Me too. So, or is it my third year this year. So I just want to say one thing before we begin, and I think it's true for both of us. One thing that these tools have shown me, Dane here, our beautiful Dane said today, doubt is the ultimate conclusion that there is no possibility. Now, so if I was you guys on the call, I would actually write this down, because doubt is the ultimate conclusion that there is no possibility. Because this work is so, I want to say, fundamentally different in that it never shows up in a linear way. It never shows up in a way that if I do this, then this result is going to show up. It just shows up in the most amazing, phenomenal ways. And one of the things for me is this reality bases business on result and money. And Joy of Business is based on the change that you create, in the world, and it includes the generation of money. And this is one of the things, money is attracted to change. When you actually contribute to people's lives, that is actually the attraction of change. And that's what actually invited the two of us to this work.
I just typed it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you said. Doubt is the ultimate conclusion that there's no possibility. Is that what it was?
That's exactly what it was. Now, if that was me, I would write that on. I would write that on a little post-it. I had these magnetic post-its for my computer, and I would write that because we create so different that if we try to fit our knowing into this reality, we destroy it and doubt it. And business, according to this reality, that's not what we're doing in Joy Business. That's not where we're being. The business is not about proving your personality or about proving how good you are. It's about being, and your doing comes from your very being. Your doing comes from your capacity to be present with awareness. And folks, there is no awareness, there is no limitation in awareness, and there is no awareness in limitation. So, yeah, how does it get any better?
Cool. So should we start?
Yeah.
Rachael, do we, I'll read out the preface first. Right? Just before the chapter 1, preface. So, okay. One day I was talking to my friend, Carrie Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, about something a mutual friend of ours was doing in his business. I said, "What's he doing? Doesn't make any sense to me." Gary asked, "What do you mean it doesn't make any sense?" I replied, "Well, why would he choose that? There is absolutely no joy in making that business decision. Nothing in his decision is going to create anything greater. I could see that he was killing what might be possible." Gary asked, "What do you mean it's not joyful?" I said, "Well, you do business for the joy of it." Gary said, "No, you don't." I was gobsmacked. I said, "Yes, you do. Why else would you do it?" Gary then said, "Simone, you're the only person I know who does business for the joy of it. In this reality, business is not done for the joy of it." That's how our dialogues about the joy of business started out. I have since discovered that there are lots of people who think they dislike business, and there are also many people who find business joyful. I'd like you to be one of them. And I'd like to invite you to change any point of view you may have that business is not or cannot be joyful. That is my invitation to you. So what if business were fun and you could make lots of money?
What a way to start.
Yeah. Would you like to read more, or
yeah. Can I just say something on that, because I can perceive that you're aware of stuff on that too. I can sense it. So all of you on the call, everywhere where you've decided work is hard, and everywhere you've decided business can't be joyful, and everywhere you've decided that you can't make money from being and doing what you love and having fun, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, all 9 pot of pock shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, so the whole invitation of joy of business is an invitation that business is fun, it can be joyful, and you can make money. Okay, and most of us have been brainwashed to believe business is difficult, it's hard to make money, and that's just the way it is. So what we're inviting you guys to is to be open to having a different point of view. Okay. So I have always loved business. How I got started, I have always loved business. When I was growing up, Sydney, Australia, my friends used to talk about going to college, getting married and having kids. Those things never interested me. I always knew I was going to own a business. I had no idea what it was going to be. I just knew I was going to have a business. That felt like the most creative thing I could possibly do. To me, running a business is like being an artist with a blank canvas. Now that's huge. So if you're on the call today and you've already decided what your business should look like, I never do that. We go into all these conclusions, just destroying or create every single place where you're not allowing yourself to have your blank canvas. Just look at Smritri's horse behind her with in his hair. Have a look at, you've a blank canvas today. That horse is so beautiful. He talks to me every time I talk to her. So just look at your blank canvas, and let's invite all the businesses on the planet that would like us to work with them. Let's invite them all in, and let's start. And even that gorgeous little man with his mama, okay, let's start showing the world and our children a different reality with business, that they don't have to fit in, that it doesn't have to be difficult, that there are businesses out there that are asking to be played with, and all of us have a capacity to create. Because that's one thing about the joy of business, anyone can do business.
And what is it that what talents and capabilities that you have that others would pay a huge amount of money for? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you now destroy and uncreate that, please?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shots, boys and beyonds. And by the way, I made that painting, so.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my goodness. So I love it. It makes me so happy.
Thank you.
So, she knew she was going to have her own business. That felt like the most creative thing I could possibly do. To me, running a business is like being an artist with a blank canvas. Yay! It's having the spark of an idea and asking questions like, what's it going to take for this to come to fruition? I've always seen business this way. So you get a sense that Simone is absolutely very different in her approach to institution and generation early on in the book, really. As soon as I graduated from high school, I got a job. I worked for 3 months and saved $3,000. Then I went overseas. I spent 3 years traveling and working in England, Portugal, Australia, the Greek islands. I would do any work I could as long as it allowed me to continue to travel to see the world. On the island in Santorini, Simone still talks about this. She used to stand outside an eating bar and bistro called Captain Angelo's, and she'd say, "Can I interest you in eating in Captain Angelo's tonight?" So what you get from this is that she had no point of view about how she made money. It was whatever was, if it's fun for you making coffee, so be it. So she used to say, we have 3 specials and you get a free glass of wine. I did that for 4 hours a day and made enough money to pay my living expenses. Someone else might have complained about doing the work I did, but my attitude was, yes, I'll do it. I didn't matter what it was. I always managed to make my work joyful and fun. I've always been able to perceive the possibilities work and business can create in my life. And I believe that a creative and joyful approach to working and doing business enables us to live an extraordinary life, or maybe even a phenomenal one.
Awesome. And have you realized how most of us in this reality function from like deprivation or scarcity or lack or denial, rather than what we'd like to have and what we'd like to create with our business. And so what if you could look beyond that? Instead of looking at the limitations of this reality, we start asking what else is possible and start choosing based from that. What contribution would that be to you and your business? Cool. Should I continue reading, Rachael?
I love listening to you.
Okay. So when I returned to Australia, everyone patted me on the back and said, well, that's done. You've got the traveling out of your system. My reaction was, what? This has just begun. I started my first business selling products at the weekend street markets at Sydney. I did everything from making my own moisturizers, spray mists, and body glitter to retailing merchandise I bought from other sources. I would do the Glebe market on Saturday and the Bondi Beach market on Sunday. I wished to create a lifestyle where I could sell products at the markets on the weekends and enjoy my life. So you see, it's not always about working really hard. You can just work only on the weekends and enjoy the rest of the week, just having fun. So it's just what brings you joy.
I'm so grateful you said that. A lot of people have the point of view that if they take on a business, it has to be full-time. And so what Smriti is inviting you here to is do what works for you. If you'd like to work 3 days a week at your business, choose 3 days a week at your business. If you'd like to work 6 days, choose 6 days. It's whatever works for you. What we're not saying to give up your living and allow business, to be your whole life. You can choose that too. And we're saying that choose something that works for you, because your life is your business. And one of the things for me, and I'm sure it's for you as well, is that if I'm not getting the fun and the joy, and if I'm not living my life, I get super cranky and my creation goes really, really fast. Okay? So invite the joy of living, because your business is your life and your life is your business.
Okay. So my target was to earn enough money to go to New Delhi, India, to buy merchandise I could sell at markets and festivals in Australia. After a short time, I earned the money I needed and I flew to India. I went to a place in New Delhi called Paharganj, where they sold incense, textiles, Indian bangles, jewelry, and clothing. Paharganj is amazing. It was one of the busiest places I've ever seen. Cows, which are considered sacred, were allowed to go anywhere they wanted, and they wandered down the middle of the dirt roads amidst taxis, bicycles, ox carts, horse-drawn carriages, and pedestrians. Street vendors on each side of the street, who were all selling pretty much the same things, haggled with shoppers and passerbys. Sometimes it got up to 55 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Food was cooking everywhere, and the smells of Indian spices filled the streets. It was hot, smelly, and totally exciting. You could have seen it as a filthy and overwhelmingly chaotic, and it was, or as one of the most exotic and interesting places on the planet. I had just arrived and I loved it. So she's painted an amazing, beautiful picture of India.
She really is. And the other thing she's painting too, one thing she's shown me here, is her ability to receive. That's one of the things that Simone is inviting to us, and we're inviting you to with Joy Business as well. Her ability to receive everything with no point of view and no judgment. And if you have an ability to receive everything, that's actually the greatest contribution that you can have for your business.
Totally. So I had no idea how I was going to find suppliers. I knew I could find them. I just had no idea what it was going to look like. I was intrigued by the adventure of doing business there. My attitude was, let's see what shows up. I would walk around looking at what the vendors had for sale. The second I cast my eyes at a piece of merchandise, they wanted to haggle with me about how much I would pay for it. This could be quite intense. I saw that they could easily talk people into buying many products they might not be able to sell back home. So I was always aware of who had control in these situations. It was a slippery slope of business, and it made me extremely joyful. I seemed to intuitively know that I had to ask questions so I could be the one who was choosing what was going on. I would ask about what things were, what colors they had in them, what price would it be if I bought one, and how much would it would be if I bought 10 or 100. I walked along, asked questions, and made notes, and then I would go back to my hotel to go through them.
Would you like me to read?
Yes.
The interesting thing is I had failed maths at school. Humanoid, no interest until it's relevant. You will forget everything until it's relevant. I hated maths and I was terrible at it. But there I was in India and had to work out formulas for exporting, importing and pricing merchandise, and I was doing it. I knew I could successfully import merchandise. I knew I had to find someone to deal with the exporting. I knew about the paperwork, and I knew I had to work out the costings. So I literally walked the streets and talked to people to gather information I needed. I was willing to be aware of everything that was required to create my business. When you are doing business, you have to be willing to have everything and lose everything. So everywhere any of us are all holding on, I could perceive my business had so much money in my account and there was this energy I wanted to hold on to it. So anywhere we're all trying to hold on, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Good and bad, right and wrong, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys and beyonds. And the willingness to lose everything doesn't actually mean you have to lose everything. It's the willingness to let it all go. Okay? So you can't be invested in the outcome of what you are doing. Oh my goodness, true story. If I had been vested in the outcome of buying certain items at that stage, the merchants would have had the control with the pricing and other aspects of the merchandise. Because I was not vested in the outcome, I took my time. I didn't push for anything to happen. I was willing to have things show up and to see what was possible, which meant I had control over the pricing, quality, quantity, and other factors. There was a great sense of adventure and joy for making money and living life. I suppose, how much times do we ask ourselves that? Like for me, like when I look at this line, there was a great sense of adventure and joy for making money and living life. How many people actually function from that place? That it's a great adventure to make money and living life.
So, and one thing that's really fun is make a demand of your business or your project to create money. You can just make a demand, okay? And frankly, if you're not willing to make the demand, you'll find that your business is always bringing in bills. So go ahead, make the demand of your business, and you'll start creating more. This is also about you valuing you and the contribution that you are to your business. When you realize and recognize that fact about yourself, you'll realize that your business will be doing well and bringing you loads of money.
Oh, I love that. I love the way you talk about that. Yeah, I love that. So I am right now making a demand of my business. Business, show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
I love that. So where were we? Where was I?
There was a sense of adventure.
Oh yeah, there was a great sense of adventure and joy for making money and living life. So I bought the goods from, pronounce it for me, I can't.
Paharganj.
Pahargaj.
Yes.
And when I first started out, I would carry things back to Australia in my bags. Later, I found two Muslim sheikhs, as you do, who became my exporters. They were awesome. I would do air shipments from India and sell the merchandise at the markets in Sydney. I would make $3,000 to $4,000 a week, working 2 days at the market. That's okay. The rest of the time, I would go to the beach, come up with new ideas for the market, and deal with the suppliers overseas. I seemed to have so much space and free time to live. I was happy. Some people who had a 9-to-5 corporate jobs were saying, Simone, get a real job. I would say, this is a real job. This is great. I was having a wonderful time and I was making plenty of money. My awareness now is that I had the ability to create and generate exactly what I desired at that moment and to make money doing it. That's because, as I later discovered in Access Consciousness, money follows joy. Joy does not follow money. How many of you make more money when you're miserable and cranky?
Not at all. So because most people see business as serious business where you have to put in a lot of efforts and work really, 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 really hard, right? It doesn't have to be like that. What else can you ask for and demand and create it and also receive it? With
the receiving it now is the piece. Are you willing to receive it with ease, joy, and glory?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, should I read or?
Whatever works.
Okay, cool. After a while, people started to ask me if I would buy merchandise for them in India and they could sell in their shops in Sydney. I figured if I wholesale to people, I can buy larger quantities and get a better price. So I said yes. I'd go to India and buy large quantities of goods, which meant I had more pull and the suppliers started to take more notice of me. I was selling to about 12 shops in Sydney and I began to design clothing. All of this became quite successful and soon I began to get bored. So I quit doing the clothing and I started to import sterling silver jewelry set with semi-precious stones. I went to Jaipur, India, which is known as the Pink City, to buy stones. When I first went there, beaded necklaces were the fashion in Australia and I bought rose quartz, amethyst, garnet, and a zillion other stones. You name it, I had it. The man who sold the stones to me told me I wouldn't succeed because I was a woman. That was his point of view. I didn't have anyone in India who was saying, "Yay, Simone, go for it." Yet I was still willing to follow my knowing and to be joyful about every choice I was making. It was all a grand adventure for me. So you don't let other people's points of view stop you. You don't let other people's definitions of limitations for you stop you. You know what you're good at, you know what works, and just go with that. Don't let other people's limitations stop you. Yeah.
And even look at somewhere in your life where you actually went against your own gut or your own knowing. Did it ever work out? You know, one of the gifts that we're given in Access is interesting point of view. And the reason that we're gifted interesting point of view is so that nobody's point of view can affect us and our future and our creation. And it's a beautiful gift. And you can start right now with that.
Yes. So I began to sell the stones and jewelry wholesale and at the markets in Australia. Then I'd go back to Jaipur and buy some more. I also bought jewelry in Thailand. There's a street in Bangkok called Khao San Road, which is a huge market similar to Paharganj. I met a lot of Westerners there who were doing the same thing I was. We'd meet and swap information and contacts so we could all contribute to each other and to our own personal success. My point of view was that if my fellow vendors were successful at getting more designs, I'd have them too. It was easy to do that. I was always willing to contribute to other people so they could make money. Doing this was and still is joyful for me. I enjoy working with people around the world and the way we contributed to each other. There is a great potency in functioning from contribution. So, yeah, when you're doing business, it doesn't always have to be about you. What contribution can you be to others? And what if everyone could make money? It doesn't have to be just I all the way. It's like, what if you take everyone along? How much would that contribute to you and your business and to the world in general?
And can I just say something there too? Like, take a look if you're on this call, if you run bars or if you have a business that contributes to people's lives getting greater, don't look at your financial reality or your business reality based on the figures in your bank account. Look at the amount of change. If you look at Dane Hare and Gary Douglas, their financial reality is not what's in their bank account. We are all actually their financial reality. Every one of us that our lives get better from the Joy Business tools, from the Access tools, that's we're part in oneness of their financial reality. And that just makes me so happy if I can contribute to one person having life with way more ease, joy, and glory. It actually makes me cry. I'm like, more ease, joy, and glory with money and business. Come on, let's do this. Yeah.
And as Gary says, right, money is for changing people's reality. So how many people's realities can you change just by being that?
Beautiful.
Where did I stop? So, okay. So it was easy to do that. I was always willing to contribute to other people so they could make money. Doing this was and still is joyful for me. I enjoyed working with people around the world and the way we contributed to each other. There is a great potency in functioning from contribution. If we had functioned from competition, we would have contracted or destroyed our businesses and probably not been as successful as we were, and probably not as joyful either. Remember, money follows joy. Joy doesn't follow money. This is a very simple awareness and a valuable one. So if you're doing things from the joy of it, you'll just have money. You choose to be happy and joyful, and you'll realize that the money just starts showing up. If you're chasing that, that might not be that easy. So
soon after I started going to Kathmandu, Nepal, I'd fly into Kathmandu through the Himalayas, which is the most beautiful site in the world. And yes, if you are there at the right time of year, hang on, I'm just going to make sure that the two of us are on. If you are there at the right time of year, it does look, thank you, darling. It does look like postcards, the postcards. It was nice to wander around the streets of the city. They had great little cafes with beautiful tea, and there was a sense that people were grateful you were in their country. After traveling to and from India for quite some time, I noticed that when I was in India, I began to spend more time in my hotel room than anywhere else. I preferred working in Thailand and Nepal, so I began to ask what else could I import from those countries. I ended up designing a range of hats, and she called the label The Shack, and I transferred a lot of my business to Nepal. For me, this was more joyful, and I was always willing to follow the joy. You've got to be willing to change anything and everything when it's not working for you. This is huge. This, I would say, is probably one of the biggest aspects of joy of business. Because if something is not working for you and you don't change it, then you actually go into that place of not having fun, which will destroy your business. Okay.
So can I add something there? So usually most people see business as a serious subject and something that you have to have right. And once you make the decision, you cannot change it. You've got to stick to it. But functioning from the joy of business, it's a total antithesis to this. So joy of business is the willingness to ask questions, change your point of view if this is not working for you, and choose what you've not chosen before. Just go for it. Choose more from the joy of it. Choose what excites you, and you'll start creating more.
I love that.
Go ahead.
I love that. I love that. Choose what excites you and you start creating more. If you love, and one of the things that I would invite everyone on here to look at is if you love selling jewelry, if you love massage, if you love whatever it is, selling hats, if you love facilitating bars, if you love being a financial advisor, if you love playing with money, please know that a lot of people come to Access and they throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you have a capacity and ability in an area, these tools can make that capacity more ease and greater, way greater. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. For me, if I take on a job, recently I took on a job and it was 50% admin work, and I don't like admin work. I was born to facilitate. That's what I'm here for, to create a different world. We both know that. So if you know that, then what's joy for me is facilitating, not doing admin work. I'll do some of it, but it's just something that's not fun for me. So get clear on this, folks. Okay?
You're reading, Rachael?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to change anything and everything when it's not working for you. Ask for the willingness to change something when it's not working for you. We had women in farming villages who made our cotton hats, and 2 men who did quality control sent all the completed hats to us in Australia. These people were fabulous. Here's her gratitude again, you see. The work we gave these women helped them provide for their families. What a gift. They were able to make our hats at home and keep their children with them to help, rather than sending them into Kathmandu to work on the street, cleaning tourists' shoes or other jobs like that. In Nepal, I also worked with a Tibetan woman who was named Ziring. She was a businesswoman and she worked like a demon. Ziring knew that making people feel special created a good result. People will always remember how you make them feel, folks. Do not negate this. It's huge. And she always treated me with great respect. She would bring me to her home and she always had a cup of tea ready for me whenever I went into her shop. I bought pashmina. Pashmina.
Yeah, pashminas.
Oh, they're the cashmere. I love pashminas and other woolen items from Ziring, who did business with the Tibetan refugee women in Nepal. There is a lot of black market activity in these countries like India and Nepal, and Ziring was known for doing white work or work for good because she was assisting Tibetan refugee women. There is no government assistance for poor people or refugees who live in Nepal. Wow. We paid the Tibetan women by the piece for their sweaters, hats and gloves they made. I used to visit them in their houses near an area called Thamal. Some of the houses were very, very tiny. I'm 5'9" tall, and there were times I couldn't stand up in their homes. I loved working with these people. The Tibetans were grateful and happy to be in Nepal. If they wanted to earn lots of money, here you go, they could work hard and do that. If they wanted to earn enough money to put their kids into school and eat, then they could do that. If it was easy to see the difference between the ones who wanted to choose more in their lives and the ones who are happy to simply have a roof over their head and food for their kids. Do what works for you. Hey, Cara. I would bring books to the refugee kids and I paid for some of them to go to school. Welcome to Samoa Molasses, folks. All of this matched the energy of what I knew was possible, and it was joyful for me. I was making money, having fun, and I never knew how each day was going to show up in my life. Wonderful. Life was a great adventure and still is. My attitude has always been, if it's not joyful, why would you do it? I don't do anything because I have to. I loved working with people who were doing something to create their lives. Me too.
Me too.
I knew you were going to say it. High five, sister. High five. Yay. I believe every person can make a change in the world. Me too!
Me too!
If you're being you and you're being aware, you can make a change in the world no matter what it is. I wholesaled our hats around Australia and the business became quite successful and well known. I had an office of 80 square meters with shelves that were filled with brightly coloured hats, and then again at some point I wanted to create something different. I began to ask, what else is possible? I returned to London for a while, and one day I bought an all-day pass for the big red double-decker buses and I went cruising all around the city. I went from neighbourhood to neighbourhood, checking things out, observing and watching. I noticed that it didn't matter where I was, whether it was in a wealthy area or a poor area or a Jewish area or a black area or a Pakistani area, there didn't seem to be any happiness. It didn't matter whether people had money or didn't have money. It didn't matter what colour they were, what religion they practiced, or what area of the city they lived in. Everybody looked sad. Oh, I thought, I don't get it. This planet is amazing. Why does everybody look sad? Why does everyone get so excited about the trauma and the drama of life rather than the possibilities? What could I create that would change this?
So if you notice, she was already doing that. Like what as I mentioned earlier, as per Gary, it is like that money is for changing people's realities. So she was anyways contributing by sponsoring a few school kids and getting books for them also. So she was anyways, and also she was helping out all the Nepalese women to sustain themselves, right? So what can you add to your business which will contribute to the world and this planet also? So it's not just about you. What else can you bring to the table?
Yeah,
that will be a contribution.
You know, there's a movement called Actions for the Future, and Simone Milas is the creator of Access Joy Business, and Chutisa Bowman, who is Prosperity Consciousness and No More Business as Usual and Generative Woman. The two of them talk about benevolence at work. And benevolence at work is where you're willing to put you first, generate money and create ease for everyone, and not damage anyone with your behaviors. And this is where I see, like, it wasn't charity, it was benevolence, where it was empowering people to create their lives. And this is so funny, like, this is, what's this, Dimitri, 20 years ago? She's talking about 20
years ago.
Yeah. And look at, she's already living as a benevolent woman. You know what I mean? She's already choosing to be a generative inspirator for future generations, you know? So how did we get so lucky?
How did we get so lucky?
Yay!
Cool. So should I read this?
Good vibes for you? Yes.
Yeah. So I decided to create a business that would increase the happiness quotient in the world and change the way people looked at life. I came up with the name Good Vibes to You, and I used that for a couple of months, but something didn't feel quite right about it. It felt like there was a forcefulness to it. So I changed the name to Good Vibes for You. That was better. It had an energy that more closely matched what I wished to create. It felt lighter. You want good vibes? They're here. You don't want good vibes? Fine. They will be here when you would like them. I returned to Australia and started to design funky t-shirts with inspirational sayings and lots of bright colors for the younger dance party crew. My idea was that if you wore one of these t-shirts and people read it, it might create the invitation for them to be more aware or change something in their life and create more joy. I got someone to design a logo, which has a big rainbow with Good Vibes for You in it. And I began selling the t-shirts at festivals and the weekend markets. One of the sayings on the t-shirts that I have always loved was, imagine what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? This is really huge. This is really, really cool. Why? How many of us do not even attempt trying things because we feel where we've already concluded that this might not be successful or it might be a failure? right? Where are we not willing to actually just go or follow our knowing and just choose it and be willing to fail? It's okay. So failing is something that did not work out the way you had envisioned it. That's all. That's all. So if you start looking at things from that way, it's just that it's showing up in a different way than what you had envisioned. So now what other changes can you create or make in your business that will be more fruitful and create more money for you?
It's
Yeah,
so
Rachel, you were gonna.
No,
Yeah.
when you're talking about this, I'm just like totally like in awe. Um, I just want to talk about one thing, which is contribution versus competition. Just say myself and Smriti are two Joy Business Advanced Facilitators. Okay. Now, if we were competing against each other, we wouldn't be able to have this fun and this joy, and I wouldn't be able to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, this is my friend. She's amazing." I wouldn't actually be able to receive from her. I wouldn't have the joy. I wouldn't have the expansion. I wouldn't have the nurturing of her knowing. So this is one of the things that for me is a game changer in how you function in business, is the willingness to be contributed to and from another. It is huge, folks. I really would like you to take a look at it. If you are doing competition, you are buying into scarcity. When you are actually willing to receive contribution, it is phenomenal. I know the other thing is failure. What if you knew you couldn't fail? One of the things that I'm looking at the moment is failure is known. It's known, and it's I want to say that it's like a point of view that's a lovely excuse to not do anything or change anything. So what I was looking at recently is I wasn't willing to take a leap in my business, just take a leap and go. So what I did was I caught myself trying to make something smaller. And guess what was behind it? Because it was easier to go, oh, that didn't work, instead of jumping. So what if I fail? But one of the things we are brainwashed into is loss. You're going to lose, you're going to lose, you're going to lose. And that's really what I came on today with. And the two of us have played with these tools. So we know doubt is the ultimate conclusion that there's no possibility. Failure is the ultimate conclusion that there's no possibility. How about you give success a go? What one choice can you make today? What one action can you take today to change your life right away?
Yes. And I'd like to add something here. So my very first Joy Business Book Club, where I was invited to be a part of it on one of the days. And that was my very first Zoom ever. Okay. And I was nervous, like really, really nervous. And there were participants who were asking a whole lot of questions, and I just went blank. I didn't know what to do, what to say. And every time I just, there was some issue with the internet, so I kept disconnecting from the call. And I panicked so much, and I was like wondering what's going on, because somewhere I was not willing to be visible, or I was perceiving everyone's judgments. And actually, they were my own judgments about myself. So I realized one thing. So I came off that call feeling really, really miserable. And I was like, what the hell just happened, right? And that was the day I decided this will not do. And I chose actually to become a right voice for you facilitator, because I was like, this is something I have to overcome no matter what. This being invisible, hiding all the time is not going to work. Just go for it. So if you think you are failing in something or you're not good in something, go out of your way to prove or to create or to choose to be the best in it. That's the way to go about it. That's a leap of faith that you take. And that's like actually jumping off the cliff every time. So sometimes when I get stuck and I'm not sure what to do, I actually imagine in my mind's eye that I am standing on the edge of the cliff, and I just take a leap of faith. And I just plunge right into it, and I'm like, okay, what would that create? And I'm willing to fail. It's okay. It's okay. You can always try again. But that one leap of faith really opens up a lot of space, because mostly, that's what they say, right? What if I fall and what if I die? So, but what if you actually start soaring and actually create much more? So just be open to that and just go for it. Cool.
And just one thing that I would like to add, when Smriti told her story, please, when you do create something magnificent, please acknowledge the courage that it took. I mean, one of the things for me is that I forget to acknowledge the courage that it took to get to where I am today. And one of the two of us can tell you this from our hearts, is that change isn't always comfortable. You do have to move through. As she said, when she got off the call, she was like, man, the line went down. Her voice wasn't come clearly. She realized she didn't want to be seen, and said she and Tom, So it's like, for you to have change, you've actually got to be willing to recognize what's not working. And this is where you have the courage to change it. And one of the things that I see is that people decide that they won't do something different, and it cannot change unless you do something different. It just cannot change.
Cool. So I'll continue with this.
Yes.
One of the sayings on the t-shirts that I have always loved was, imagine what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail. For me, it wasn't possible to fail or do something that was wrong. You just ended up with something that didn't look the way you expected. It simply didn't go according to your plans, and nothing goes according to your plan anyway. I don't know anyone who has accomplished their business or life targets according to plan. So imagine what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail. So that's something you can actually write or put it on a post-it note and keep it as a reminder all the time. Imagine what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail. So don't let that stop you ever.
I get that that's one that we have to be continuously reminded of.
Yes.
For sure. Will I read?
Yes.
Another t-shirt, be open to the moments of life, do not be afraid to change. One day when I was wearing a t-shirt at an expo, a guy walked by, looked at my t-shirt and looked straight into my eyes, and looked at my t-shirt and then looked straight into my eyes. I could see a change in his whole being. At that moment, I knew he was seeing another possibility. He knew that something else was possible, if only for an instant. I had changed the way he looked at the world. That energy matched the energy of what I wished to create in the world. I wished for every single person on the planet to know that there are greater possibilities. Anything is possible. Oh, so grateful for Simone. Some of the other things were: be the change you'd like to see in the world, you want to see in the world, create your world. If you don't create your reality, someone else will. Do something outside your comfort zone. And what does the planet require of you? Most people were talking about what we should do to save the planet, but hardly anyone was asking to the planet, what would you like, planet? Sometimes people would come up to my stall and read all the sayings on the t-shirts. They wouldn't buy anything. They would just say, I can come up here and read these sayings and it makes me feel different. Once again, I was creating what I desired. I was changing the way people looked at their lives. And that's the purpose of this book. One day, a middle-aged lady bought 10 t-shirts. She wasn't going to wear them. She planned to hang them, hang them around her house because she thought what I was doing was fabulous. This put me into question. What else could I create? What would be of interest to everybody, not just the younger generation? What else could be seen by the world? We started to create magnets and stickers with the same sayings on them, which allowed us to further develop the business. When you're aware and in question, you can know how and when to expand your business. One day I got a phone call from a lady who bought a magnet that said, imagine what you would do if you knew you couldn't fail. This story is phenomenal, folks. She said she had 6 kids and was married to a man who was beating her up for years. She thought there was no way out of this situation. She said she had pushed that magnet on her fridge for 6 months. She had read it every morning when she got up. Then one day she took her kids and left her abusive husband. Yay! She wanted to thank me because the words on the magnet gave her the strength and the courage to know that leaving him was possible. It was a $5 magnet. Wow. If I had collaborated my success on the $5 she paid me, would I consider myself successful? Of course not. However, if I collaborated my success on the change that was created in the woman's life and the ripples that change created for her 6 kids, it was a great success. Okay? This to me is just beautiful. Another day, when I was working at a festival, a guy dressed as a typical biker was looking at the stickers I had for sale. He had long hair and it was tied back, and wearing a Jack Daniels t-shirt, leather pants and big heavy boots, and a leather motorcycle jacket with a club logo to go on it. He gave me the money for a sticker and I asked, "Which one are you choosing?" "Be the change in the world," he said. I asked where was he going to put it. "On the back of his motorcycle," he answered. I thought, awesome. How does it get any better than this? Again, I was successful. How many people will get to read that sticker, "Be you and change the world"? Do you want to read?
Yeah. So before I read, just a question that I'd like to ask. So what choices are you not making that if you made it would change the world around you? And what would you create if the world could not tell you no any longer? So just play with those questions. That will start opening up a lot of things.
Can you ask the second one again?
So I'll just repeat the whole thing again. So what choices are you not making that if you made it would change the world around you? And what would you create if the world could not say no to you any longer?
You're making me all like... You're making me all vulnerable, being like, this is true, folks. The world won't say no to you. Consciousness will give everything you ask for. Maybe not in the way that you think, but it will give it to you. I love those questions. We'll put them out. If you put them in the chat, and we'll in our WhatsApp chat, and we'll send them out with a follow-up email.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Good Vibes for You bottled water. Good Vibes for You has changed and grown a great deal over the years since I sold the t-shirts at festivals in Sydney. However, our target to be the change we wish to see on the planet has remained constant. One day I was attending an Access Consciousness class. I was carrying around a bottle of water and I put one of our colorful Good Vibes for You stickers on it so I could distinguish my bottle from everyone else's. Other people started putting stickers on their bottles too. Soon the place was full of water bottles with Good Vibes stickers and slogans on them, like "Be you and change the world," or "What else is possible," or "Infinite being, infinite possibilities," and so on. Someone said, "Simone, Good Vibes should do bottled water and have sayings written on the labels." I am a water snob and I liked my particular brand of water, but at the same time, there was no water on the market that was empowering to people or the planet. So my business partner began to look into the possibility of making bottled water one of our products. We contacted a guy who had a wonderful natural spring near Sydney, and my business partner and I drove out to meet him in my convertible. The guy showed us around the property and we talked about the water business. I asked him, how many people are starting to look at the water business? He said, possibly 500 to 1,000 a week. Everybody thinks they're going to sell bottled water and make $1 million. So they go out and make a down payment on a new Ferrari. We laughed and I said, well, I already own this convertible. This guy loved the concept we wanted to introduce to bottled water, which was a fully biodegradable bottle with colorful, empowering labels that conveyed a sense of fun and lightness. He encouraged us from day one and went out of his way to help us. He's a good Aussie bloke. Once, when a potential customer of ours flew to Australia from another country, our supplier drove to the airport in Sydney to pick up the customer, gave him a tour of his spring, and told him we were his favorite people to deal with. He built us up to be bigger than we were. He said to me, I really want your water business to work. I enjoy working with you. To me, this is the joy of business. Working with people who are happy to work with you and your business. And how does it get any better than this?
This is a huge one. If I'm working on a project and people aren't enthusiastic about like the class or a call, it really affects the energy of the creation. And one of the things, I was talking to Stephen Bowman, who wrote Conscious Leader, and he said, Rachael, you always get excited about the possibilities and you're willing to nurture something. Please look at this in your lives, folks. There's one thing about the two of us: we're willing always to nurture something so that it gets created. And really look at what would you have to add to nurture, whether it's a product, whatever it is. But look at this, because this energy of when you work with people, it creates something different for your life, your living, and your business. If you're around people that are negative and want to destroy it with their viewpoints, it does have an effect on the delivery for sure. So ask for people who are joyful. I can sense your brain go on.
So I'd just like to add something here. Couple of months ago, I was leaving for Australia to conduct some classes there, and Rachael just happened to call up, and I just happened to mention to her that I'm traveling to Australia to conduct some classes as well, including the Joy of Business class. And she just got moving. She connected me with a few people. We got a whole lot of things in place. She even added me to some group where there was a whole lot of other bunch of people who actually started contributing, and it just felt so expansive, and it felt so light, and you feel so nurtured and cared for, being part of Joy of Business, where everybody is willing to contribute to you. It's not about pulling someone down. So that's the energy of Joy of Business, which I really, really, really love, that where everybody is just trying, is contributing to pushing you into greater heights to achieve more. So yeah. Because in this reality, mostly it is about how do we pull the so-and-so down so that we can look better. Yeah. But that doesn't really work, because you're just trying to, every time you're trying to pull someone down, you're functioning from the space, you're already acknowledging that that person is better than you. That's the reason you feel you have to pull them down to look better. But that doesn't really work. What if you can actually contribute? As Rachael mentioned earlier also, it has to come from the space of more expansiveness and more contribution.
Yeah.
From the space of having faith in yourself and your own capabilities.
And just an add on to this, and this is something that's high priority for me, and I'm going to own this totally. There's my colleague and my friend going off to a country to bring work that changes the world, according to my point of view, phenomenally creates a future that I am interested in having on this planet. That we don't destroy people with business, that we don't destroy people with what we're creating, that we actually embody an energetic awareness of a different future with business and money. Now, here's my friend traveling to another country. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that she's cared for and looked after, and there's support in that country. And this, for me, is high priority. This is one of the areas where I'm like, hey, come on, can you support someone? Can we contribute here? Can we be there? Because sometimes, folks, and I'm not saying this to, for you all to think that I'm great, but sometimes this work can be difficult when there are people that are slamming it all the time, looking for their results and their fixed amount of money that they've decided that they should get, rather than the change that they're actually looking to create. So that's my viewpoint. How about we have each other's backs in business, that we look what we can actually generate and create together, and what future we're creating with this work. Because for me, whatever it takes, we're having a different reality with business and money on this planet.
Yay, how does it get any better than this? Let's do it.
Yes, you are doing it. We are doing it. Cool. So, will we finish tonight with the questions at the end of, we're at the end of chapter 1.
So there's just one page more that is left to read. Can I quickly read that?
Yeah. Go.
Okay. So the water industry has been a hard slug. There are many massive corporations selling water, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. But we make a joke about it on our label. Our new labels say, we're the smaller company in this huge arena. We have brought the fun factor into the bottled water industry, and people notice this. They are attracted to our approach and want to do business with us. My perception is that they actually notice the difference that we be. So where are you not willing to be the difference in this world with your business and your life? And what contribution would that be to the whole world? So we have established some wonderful contacts around the world, and we have many exciting international possibilities in the works. Currently, we are researching other products and technologies related to water, including a machine that converts air to water. These are amazing machines that suck the moisture out of the air and create good, clean drinking water. With one of these, no one would ever have to go without good water. It's better than any tap filtered water or any bottled water you can buy. Every household should have one. So people have said, hang on, you're a bottled water company and now you've got these machines. Aren't they competing with each other? We reply, yes, and we'd like to see you using these machines as well. We are also working on getting customers to accept fully biodegradable bottles, which would be so much better for the environment. There's a certain energy that I always wish to create and generate in the world, and these things match that energy, and that's why we do them. Good Vibes for You is not about being a bottled water company. It's not about water. It's about good vibes for you. It's about the target of creating and generating more consciousness, more joy and happiness in the world. What would it take? So here are a few questions that you can ask. What does success mean to you? What's the real target of your business? And what's the real target of your life and living? So play with these questions and for the whole day, next day, and see what it creates for you.
Yay! How does it get any better? Thanks for being here with us. We will send out the recording. And this is call number 1. We have 10 calls in 10 days. Oh my goodness me.
I'm so excited about this. And seriously, what contribution can we be to you guys?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for staying up.
Next time we'll leave it open also for you guys to be able to ask your questions. Today we ran out of time, but tomorrow onwards, yeah, we'll try and fit in your questions also, or you can also write into us and we could take it from there. So thank you so much for joining. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And if you'd like to register, please just go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachael. I love creating with you.
I adore you. How do we get so lucky? Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. See you. Bye.